Hi, I'm Matt Orlando, City Council member, and today we'll be talking to a longtime friend of mine, Lew Bradley, and about a special project that Lew was one of the initial groundbreaking person involved with this program. It's the Field of Honor. It's our Veterans Memorial that'll be finally done after about almost 20 years of planning and effort. It'll be dedicated on this November 11th. Lew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt.
Lew,
good to see you again.
It's good to see you again, my friend. We're both getting a little slower, but you're still faster than me. So
right,
and
I can still skip.
I know. Good for you, buddy. Lew's a former Marine. Nah, never mind. He's not a former Marine. You're always a Marine.
Active duty, former active duty.
Active duty Marine. That's better. Lew, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I could begin to give you a background of what this guy has done.
Yeah, well, as Matt said, I was a active member of the few, the proud, the greatest fighting force on planet Earth. After the Marine Corps, came to first South Phoenix and then Chandler. I've been in Chandler since about 1996. After 28 years overseas supporting Air America, the Ghost airline, and other airplanes that were powered by Garrett engines. I have a family here. I came home. The Orientals always says the best life for a man is an American home, a Japanese wife, and a Chinese cook. Well, I got the home and the wife, and I'm not looking for the cook, because I told my wife if she can read, she can cook. But I've been very active in Kiwanis, actually 2 Kiwanis clubs in Chandler, the Young Professionals and the Noon Club. Also in the East Valley Marines that was formed, I think it was about 1998. Yeah. Korean War veterans.
And the VFW?
I've been a chapter commander for a total of 9 years, not consecutive, but intermittently. They wanted me to do a 10th year, and I said, no, I had enough. Let some of these younger guys get into it. And as far as the city goes, I've been in projects for cleaning the city park monthly with the Kiwanis Club. And for this Field of Honor, there was a call out for veterans to meet with the Chandler City and Parks and Recreations Department to discuss having a Veterans Memorial at Veterans Oasis Park. And the first meeting we had, I think there was probably 20 of us with the Parks and Recreation Department and a consulting firm, Olson's and Associates. Our first task was to try to come up with some themes for the park or for the memorial. And when we looked around at where it was supposed to be, right in front of the Environmental Center, the majority of the veterans says, well, this is just a water retention basin. Isn't there a better place in the park for it? But when we looked around at the other places around the lakes and that, was okay, if we do something to that water retention basin, this would be a good place for it. It can be observed from the road and everything, and convenient for anybody to get to. One of the first things that we decided on is that they would raise the ground level a little bit, and they would grade it so it would look like a waving of a flag. And the consulting firm decided that the themes that we came up with, 6 themes, that they would put a top half of a star towards the Environmental Center at the ground level, and the retention area would be filled with pillars to represent the U.S. flag. With the lowest level pillars, since there's 7 stripes in the flag, the lowest level of the pillars went from bottom to top, 3 abreast to represent the 21-game salute, and the tallest pillars would represent the 50 stars up in the blue field. First, we were just thinking about having a cement pillars. Later on, the construction committee decided, well, let's change that to anodized aluminum, which would be a lot less cost to construct. And for the stars, we could put a cap on them with lights that would shine down to the inside of the pillar, and we could do things on the pillar such as drilling holes and putting in the armed forces emblems and all that. All kinds of things that we could do that the lights would shine, and it would be something very significant to whoever is visiting. We were having inscriptions and that going onto the ramps going down into the area, and there would be benches inside that people could come and contemplate and think. There would be room to have veterans events, such as a Veterans Day event down there. Not room for a large crowd, but for a sustainable crowd that could be there. And then we got into fundraising.
Yeah, well, so that was in 2008, 2009.
2008 and 9.
Right, and then it went to the council for
Right.
approval late 2010, 11, I believe it was 11.
10 to 11,
Yeah,
right.
right. And then, of course, we had the recession in 2008, 9, and of course, coming out of
Yes.
10. And then we got our committee together, right?
Right, early 2012.
Exactly, 2012. And that's when the fun started, right?
Yes, it did.
So we put together a committee from corporate America. You were involved with that, and I appreciate all the contributions you made to that. We had a mix of of veterans as well as corporate America and Chandler residents and
Yes,
family. And then we went out there and we did and anytime, correct me if I'm wrong, Maureen, okay, if I make a mistake here, all right? We went out and put together our plan. We hired a consultant for that because was it doable to raise the money? We thought
Yes.
it was. And at that time, Lew was about 1.3, 1.4 million, something like that, I think it
Yeah,
was.
well, they originally thought they would probably go up close to 2 million,
Okay,
maybe about 1.8. And our campaign cabinet
yep, that's what it was, yeah,
is what we called our fundraising committee.
right, yeah. And then we met several times a month as we kicked this off.
Yes.
And one of the first major contributions we had, and you recall, when we got from the Gila River Indian community. In fact, David White, who was on our committee, was the community manager out there, like the city manager out
Yes.
there. And Dave and I served together, as you remember, back in the 80s.
Yes,
So it was great to see him again. And one day he wrote us a check for $500,000.
Mhm.
Yep. And then we went out and we found some corporate sponsors, and we had small sponsors. We were able to raise about $250,000 through the corporate sponsors.
Right.
Again, it was so hard. I remember it was painful sometimes because we, folks had good hearts. They loved our story. You were on many of those
Yeah.
stories with me. What are some of your thoughts about those
Yeah,
those
right.
adventures?
Well, it was a little nerve-wracking when you went to somebody's office with an appointment and they weren't there.
Well, we had a couple of those. Yeah, that's true.
We've had a couple of them.
But we re-engaged. We got to them
Right,
eventually.
And then we had some individuals, and I had one friend who was also working with us, trying to get this thing going, named Matt Orlando, who made a significant contribution. And I says, gosh, if the Air Force can do that, how about the Marines? So I made an IRA withdrawal.
That's right. I remember that. I wasn't going to be upstaged, right, my friend?
Right.
No. And then, like I said, then it went silent for a while because, again, it just was not.
Right.
The folks are just not. I mean, there's a lot of issues coming out of the recession, and then it was. I believe the first was dedicated in 2015. Was it the first piece of it? 2000.
First piece, yes.
Yeah, that's the flag you were talking
That
about.
was just the upper half right in front of the environmental center, the upper half of the stars with the rays coming out.
Right, and that
And
was
the grading.
right. That was to signify the family leaving behind
Right.
who were off the war. So that was developed, and then we had a grand opening ceremony
Grand
there,
opening
which
for
everyone
that.
was there, and that was good. And then it went dormant again until about 3.5, 4 years ago, you and I talked. You said if you run again for city council, Matt, you remember this
Right.
roughly, and I'll clean it up a little bit because you said if you ever run again, we got to make sure that gets built because you told me so I only have so many years left on this earth.
You don't abandon this baby.
I think it was more of an order, right?
Right.
So, yeah, we got back on the council, and of course, the council was very receptive. The mayor obviously was receptive to it, and we then put it back into the budget, or we moved it up in the budget,
Right.
and then we were able to find some one-time dollars to be able to complete the memorial. Work still to be done, though, right?
Yes.
Because and as you know, Lou, I think I shared this with you. We, in conjunction with this, Councilmember Lopez worked with some other Bob Delpy and some other
Right.
veterans,
Right.
and we just did an ordinance for the to join a veterans commission now, so
Right.
that. And one of the objectives of this commission is not only to oversee the maintenance and of that memorial, but
good.
to do
Right.
other things, to get out in the community, make sure our vets are taken care of. So,
Yeah, because Bob has asked me to be on it.
yeah, well, we'd love to have you on if you could.
And I've known Bob for quite a while because he used to be on my Pearl Harbor Day committee.
Yep.
And I used to have to pick him up and take him to the committee meetings.
So now he could pick you up and take you to committee
Yeah.
meetings. So, Lou, it's been a long time, and we understand the revenue streams and
Right.
what we're there, and that's the important thing right now, right? I mean, the
Yes.
mission. We were given a mission in 2008. Took us almost 20-something, well, not 20 years, a little less than 20 years to get it done, but we did it, right?
Yes, we did.
So how do you feel about it?
I feel very great about it. I feel like a mosquito at a blood bank.
Okay.
I feel happier than that mosquito will ever be. No matter how fat he is when he leaves that blood bank,
Yep.
the thing is done. And
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful project. And then we, as you know, we moved the Sabre jet down there as well. So it's kind of
Yes.
a nice place for that. Finally, that poor jet has a really
yeah, they'll
home.
get a lot more seeing than sitting there by the railroad tracks.
Exactly. Well, there's a long story behind moving that one too.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's that was deeded to us from the Air Force when Williams Air Force Base was out here in America. And so now it's got a brand new home. It'll get a fresh paint job, which is great. And it'll be lit up as you talked earlier. So that's some of the change. You touched on some of the changes when we originally did this thing, but the basic theme of the flag waving, the
yes.
pillars, how we show the men and women going off to war. Some don't return, obviously, and that's the lower part of the basin. That's the imagery of this thing,
Right.
of this, and then coming back, obviously, those that are moving on with their lives. And the themes are, we had a lot of themes of respect, tradition, family, service.
Yes.
We covered the 6 themes as you talked about earlier, which I think is, So I've seen many memorials, as you probably throughout our career, but I don't think, and I'm not, I'm proud, obviously, of the memorial, and I'm a little bit selfishness here, but I think this is going to be a destination memorial for a lot of people. I really believe that,
I
Lou,
think it will.
because it's unique.
It is unique, and as I told like my Marine Corps League
Mm-hmm.
and my Korean War veterans, this is not just about Chandler.
Yes.
This is the East Valley.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the best memorial in the East Valley.
Yep.
Show me anyone better.
We'll spread it out. We'll make it the best one in Arizona and then best one in the United States. How's that? So, you touched on it a little bit, but I want to go back to this. This is really important for us, and I had my reason why it was important for me because it's a way of giving back and honoring, and particularly to families. We talked about that earlier. But what does it mean to you, in retrospect, all this work and activity now?
What it means to me is I can go there. I can go sit and contemplate. Number one, how long it has been and all the effort that we have done and put in all the time, the dollars, whatever, mainly our time, and look at this beautiful result.
Yeah, it does, and I like that. It's a good one. I was down there about 4 or 5 months ago with my grandkids. We went over to the environmental center, and I was there, and I was noticing there was these 3 little kids. Of course, my grandkids were playing there too, and they would go down the steps and go back up because it was it's all desert there. But it was so cool to see the mom and dad were just sitting there and eating lunch or eating something, and the kids are running around there. I said, "Wow, that's the envision."
Yeah, sure.
Just to go there and just sit down and just have a lunch there and just enjoy what's going on there. So
And I imagine there'll be many families that'll be just like that.
yeah,
That the parents would go down there, especially if the parents is a veteran,
yep,
and his kids or his grandkids
Yeah.
would be running around and looking at everything.
yep. You know,
Looking at
go ahead.
all the writing that'll be on the walls down there and
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, that's a good point. Lou and I, we chatted about this, and of course we'll have to make the commission start working on this. But our goal was, remember, to get names of all the veterans that
Yes.
served in Chandler or had relationship in Chandler, and then every year on Veterans Day or Memorial, whatever the case may be, we would have a new slab. So we got
A new one,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you for reminding me about that. We definitely
Right.
want to continue doing that because I think that's a great way of honoring veterans too,
Sure.
is putting their names on there. Some of the ones that all the folks that served through that activity. So yeah, we'll get those cracking on that. We'll get them figuring out how to make
Right.
that happen. That'll be the first goal. So if you get on that committee, make sure they live up to that
Yeah,
promise.
okay.
All right. So we talked a little bit about design. We talked a little bit about the raising of funds. We talked about what it means to us, and of course, it's final closing of this thing is November 11th. And one of the things I was asked earlier today, Lou, and maybe you reflect on it too, it's not so much, I think it's just important as looking back for a veteran, but hopefully it'll be an inspiration for a future generation. Do you see that as well in that?
I would think so, yes.
Because seeing what that, what done, and the names on the walls, and
Right, and it's something different than a lot of memorials where there is just a structure that has a plate on it with writing.
Yeah, exactly. This is more interactive.
This is.
You could actually go down there, walk down there, and so yeah. Oh, the only other thing we did change, because full disclosure, Lou, is we're going to have artificial turf down there versus grass.
Yes,
Okay,
right.
good. All right. Because original kind we had grass, and then we thought
Originally
about
we
it,
had grass as well. You got to water that and
Yep.
everything.
and then
against
stains,
the columns,
yep.
you're going to get some deterioration.
so we'll just have to watch the heat in the summer to make sure
Right.
they were. But the grass is getting better.
Yeah,
right
and
now.
you got to have somebody cutting the grass.
So the other thing we got to do is get our veterans down there, like we said earlier, to help us do guided tours down there, and potentially, obviously,
Sure.
maybe do a command down there a little bit.
Yeah.
Make sure we,
Okay, sure.
keep watch. So that'd be good. Of course, police station right across the street. I don't
Yeah.
know too much could happen.
And you
but
could have some of the veterans organizations schedule some meetings.
it's an idea. I like that. So you're a visionary, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Lou, anything else as we close this show? We're getting close to the end
No,
here.
not really. It's just that I'm happy to see it done. I'm happy to see the finish of it. And I know everybody that was on the council, everybody was on the committees should be. If they're not, I'll do some butt kicking. I'll give them an old Marine tincture.
I've been through one of those, several of those, folks. In full disclosure,
No,
I've been
just
through-
march double time.
Lou, it's a pleasure seeing you, my friend. It really is.
It's great seeing you.
I want to thank you for your service to the nation. Most importantly, your service to this community and to yourself and the family. You're leaving a legacy, my friend. I certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, I try to leave it better than I found it.
Amen, right? And I want to thank all the donors and the committee members, the hundreds of people that have been involved with this city staff. Mickey Olin, God bless him.
Mickey Olin, oh,
Mickey, he's been
yes.
with this since day one, right? And you're doing a great job. I was out there quickly, and it does look a mess, but they promised me it's going to be get ready in a few weeks. So, but Lou, thanks again, my friend.
Oh,
I really
no problem.
appreciate it, and thank you for watching. Hopefully, you got a little bit more insight on how this memorial was created, designed. some of the pain we went through and sacrifice, but it's there, and that's the important thing. The mission's accomplished, right, buddy?
Yes. Amen.
Good seeing you again, my friend.
Good seeing
It's
you.
always a pleasure.